Hi everybody, we're going to be talking notes from the 8th grade Common Core lesson 3.1, and it's talking about parallel lines and transversal. This lesson is very heavy in vocabulary, so pretty much the notes are going to be based on knowing the vocabulary and being able to apply it at the end. So please copy down all of the definition or all of the vocabulary words, and then also the pictures. So, complementary angles. Those are angles that have a sum of 90. Supplementary angles have a sum of 180. I remember that by saying it is right to give a complement because a right angle is 90 degrees. And then supplementary angles is 180. And then I don't have a saying for that, but I found as long as I say that it's right to give a complement, I know complementary is the 90 degrees. A transversal, that is a line intersecting parallel lines, and all of my blue drawings are examples of the transversal. So, adjacent angles. Those are angles that are next to each other. So I've gone ahead and I've listed 2 of the 4 possible examples that you could have. X and Y are next to each other. They share a vertex at the bottom right here, and therefore they are next to each other, therefore they are adjacent. Vertical angles are across from each other and they kind of create a V. So if I were to trace this over, this is a V and this is a V. X and Y are vertical, X and Y are vertical, X and Y are vertical, X and Y are vertical. In vertical angles, it is important for you to know that vertical angles are also congruent, right? Adjacent angles, they could be complementary, they could be supplementary, they could be congruent, but you don't know that. But in vertical, you know they are congruent, which means that they're the same. Interior angles. Interior angles means that they're the angles inside of the 2 parallel lines. There's 2 types of interior angles. Alternating interior angles and alternating interior angles. So 2 and 3 are alternating interior angles because they're on opposite sides of the transversal, and 1 and 4 are alternating interior angles because they're on opposite sides of the transversal. And interior angles are also congruent. Exterior angles. Those are the angles on the outside of the vertical or on the outside of the parallel lines. And then you may hear that there are alternating exterior angles. 2 and 3 are alternating exterior angles, and 1 and 4 are alternating exterior angles. Corresponding angles means that they're located on the same angle if you were to move the top part intersection exactly on top of the other intersection. And we can do this using patty paper. If you notice, on the bottom left, that's where the X is located. Well, on this intersection, the Y is located on the bottom left as well. Those are corresponding. All right, I made a mistake here, so ignore that. X and Y are corresponding. Top left. Top right, X and Y are corresponding. That means this angle and this angle are corresponding. Bottom right, corresponding. Corresponding angles are congruent. So, vertical angles, alternating interior and alternating exterior angles are congruent, and corresponding angles are congruent. That means they're the exact same. In the event that you're asked to go ahead and label units and it is not, and it includes a variable, you must write an equation. So make sure you have these examples written down, and I'm going to show you an example of an equation, a problem that I would expect an equation. And I guess this would just be our first example. I've drawn parallel lines, and this is a transversal. If I were to go ahead and say x plus 5, and then I would go ahead and let's say this is 135. If I were to use vocabulary to describe those angles that I'm looking for, if I want to solve for x, I would say that they're alternating exterior angles. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, and they are on the exterior. Because I know that exterior alternating angles are congruent, I can set them equal to each other. I know that you know x is 130. I don't care. I need the equation. I'm teaching you a way so when you don't know it, you can set up a problem to solve it. And I'm going to expect you to solve it using algebra. And x is 130. If I were to go ahead and say that I am now solving for y, and I have 2x plus 10 is here, and over here I have, let's say, let's say 50 degrees, okay? Those are alternating exterior. I know that they're equal. I set them equal to each other using an equation. I solve to find x. If I were to go ahead and say that I wanted these two angles and I wanted you to go ahead and solve for x, I may need to know that I used a vertical angle to solve for 50, because those are vertical angles, and then set up an equation to solve for x. Be sure to follow the directions and making sure that if you're finding a missing angle using any variable, you must use an equation, and you must be able to use the vocabulary. Alternating exterior, corresponding, vertical. Those are supplementary because they add up to 180. So please make sure that you know how to use the equations and that you're familiar with the vocabulary. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Oh, don't forget to write your stuff on the sides and make sure you wrote everything down that I wrote. Thanks.